What if the end of one world was the beginning of another? It started with fire from the sky. A single cosmic strike, and in moments, Earth changed forever. The rulers of the world fell. Darkness spread. Life teetered on the edge. But in the stillness that followed, new stories began. Small survivors crawled from the shadows. Petals bloomed where ashes lay. And some creatures walked back into the sea, never to return. This is not just a tale of extinction. It's the dawn of everything that came after. When giants fell, and shadows birthed a new world. 66 million years ago, a silent predator crossed the void between stars, a fiery asteroid, traveling faster than sound, light, or mercy. It slammed into Earth with the force of 10 billion nuclear bombs. In an instant, paradise became apocalypse. Forests ignited. Oceans boiled. Winds screamed. A blinding flash marked the death of an era, and the beginning of something else. The age of dinosaurs, once glorious, thunderous, unchallenged, ended not with a roar, but with silence. Tyrannosaurus rex, Triceratops, and Colossaurus. All of them vanished beneath falling ash and suffocating darkness. The skies darkened for months. Photosynthesis halted. Plants died. Herbivores starved. Carnivores turned on each other. No kingdom, no matter how mighty, survives when the sun itself disappears. But as the titans fell, something else stirred beneath the ruins. In burrows. In trees. In shadows. Tiny mammals, creatures once dwarfed and hunted by dinosaurs, began to emerge. They were not majestic. They were not terrifying. They were survivors. Soft-furred. Warm-blooded. Quiet. Adaptive. In a world that now demanded flexibility, not dominance, these small creatures had the advantage. While dinosaurs crumbled under the weight of their own grandeur, mammals found strength in simplicity. The first chapters of the mammalian age were humble. These animals scurried through leaf litter, scavenged for seeds, insects, anything. They bore their young alive, nursed them, protected them. And perhaps most importantly, they learned. Each generation grew smarter. Faster. Stronger. Nature, once ruled by brute force, now favored cunning, care, and community. As Earth warmed again and life crept back across its scarred surface, mammals multiplied. They spread through recovering forests, across budding plains, into caverns and canopies. Some developed hooves to run. Others claws to dig. Some took to the trees, a few even returned to the sea. Each adaptation was a quiet rebellion against extinction. Predators rose again, not in scales, but in fur. The ancestors of wolves, lions, and bears sharpened their senses and teeth. The prey, too, evolved, swifter, keener, more elusive. And somewhere in the tangled green of the reborn rainforests, something else was happening. A new kind of intelligence flickered in primate eyes. Gripping branches. Studying fruit. Watching the world, and wondering. From the death of dinosaurs came the rise of mammals, and eventually, us. It is tempting to mourn the loss of giants. But Earth does not grieve the way we do. It transforms. From the embers of destruction, it fosters rebirth. If not for that single, merciless asteroid, there might never have been forests filled with birdsong, skies painted by butterflies, or a creature that looks up at the stars and asks, what happened before us? What comes after? So next time you see a squirrel dart across a branch, a child chase a dog, or your own reflection staring back, remember this. The world we live in is not the world the dinosaurs lost. It is the world the survivors built. When flowers took the throne, the quiet conquest of Earth. In the aftermath of devastation, silence reigned. The skies still held a bruise of ash, and the Earth, once teeming with ferns and towering conifers, lay in ruins. The age of dinosaurs had ended, and with them, many of the ancient plants that had shaded their world. Gymnosperms, the seed-bearers of the old forests, had ruled for over 100 million years. But now, their reign was shattered. Yet beneath the ash, a revolution was already blooming. Small, fragile, seemingly insignificant flowering plants emerged not as warriors, but as poets of survival. They offered no armor. They bore no needles or thick bark. What they brought instead was seduction, petals of radiant color, fragrances that beckoned across the breeze, and fruits that whispered promises of sweetness to passing creatures. Angiosperms, the flowering plants, had waited patiently through the shadow of giants. But now the stage was theirs. And they did not rise with brute force, they danced their way into dominance. With flowers came pollinators. Insects like bees, butterflies, and beetles, many themselves survivors of the cataclysm, found purpose in petals. A symphony of evolution began to play, each note a mutual promise: feed me, and I will carry your legacy. Together, plant and pollinator rewrote the rules of life. In time, the gray landscapes healed. Forests returned, but not as they were before. These were not the solemn groves of cycads or the towering, needle-laden stands of gymnosperms. No, these were jungles alive with color, noise, and scent. They spread across the tropics like living cathedrals, filled with vines that reached for the sun, and flowers that burned like stars against the green. From the Amazon to Southeast Asia to the Congo, the tropical rainforest was born not as a slow accident, but as a masterpiece carved by flowers and time. And within their leafy embrace, life multiplied. Birds evolved feathers as brilliant as petals. Mammals adapted to leap, swing, and glide between branches. Frogs became luminous jewels that chirped and clicked with the rhythm of monsoon hearts. The forest was no longer a backdrop. It was the stage and the star. Each flowering plant held within it a strategy of success. Some grew towering and proud, others crept low and unassuming. Some bloomed for mere hours, others for days, but all shared one truth: they gave Earth back its color. They fed it, healed it, transformed it. Without flowering plants, there would be no apples or peaches, no sunflowers or roses. No bees to buzz or birds to sing the dawn awake. No sense of jasmine or lavender to stir memory and longing. And perhaps, no us. For our ancestors walked in these rainforests. Learned to climb, to gather, to taste. The same trees that lured ancient insects lured our hands. Our eyes. Our minds. They taught us beauty. Today, nearly 90% of all plant species are flowering plants. They cover the mountains, the plains, the swamps, and the gardens of your home. But once, they were rebels in a ruined world. And now, they are the architects of paradise. The last breath of land, and the first song of the sea. It began with footsteps. Long ago, in the humid forests of a recovering earth, a creature stepped softly through leaf-littered ground. It was not large, the size of a sea lion perhaps, with legs built for walking, lungs built for breathing, and eyes that still looked skyward. But in its heart, something ancient stirred. A calling, soft and endless, like the hush of distant tides. It was the call of the ocean. This creature was Ambulocetus, the walking whale. A mammal, yes. But one that had begun to wade deeper, longer, farther into water. It was awkward on land. In the rivers, however, it moved with surprising grace, paddling with limbs, swaying its spine like an otter. It hunted fish, dived for cover, listened to the silence beneath the surface. And slowly, generation by generation, land lost its grip. Limbs became flippers. Nostrils crawled higher on the head. Ears adapted to listen underwater. Legs shrank, vanished. Tails grew strong and wide, like rudders powered by thunder. Eyes changed. Lungs deepened. And eventually, they did not walk anymore. They swam. Thus began one of the most dramatic transformations in the history of life, a return to the sea. From terrestrial mammal to ocean giant. From hooves to fins. From whispers in the forest to songs in the deep. The ocean was no easy home. It was vast, crushing, unknowable. But it offered something land could not: space. Food. Safety. And over millions of years, whales rose to claim it. Some became the world's largest predators. Like orcas, cunning, sleek, armed with social intelligence and teeth honed for the hunt. Others became titans of peace: baleen whales, gentle giants who sang to the seafloor and filtered krill by the ton. Blue whales, larger than any dinosaur that ever lived, now glide through the oceans as living monuments to possibility. But their journey was never easy. Along the way came climate shifts, sea level rises, ice ages, and mass extinctions. Yet they endured. Not by overpowering, but by adapting. Not by clinging to the past, but by flowing with the future. And what of their cousins? Back on land, their relatives still roamed, hoofed mammals like deer and pigs, rooted in the world of soil and leaf. But the whales had become something else. Something between memory and myth. Landborn, sea-made. Their bones still tell the story. Fossils found on mountaintops, ancient backbones with vestigial hips, tiny reminders of a time when they walked. They no longer need legs. But they carry the ghost of them in every dive. Today, whales traverse entire oceans. They navigate by starlight, communicate across miles with vibrations no human ear can match. They grieve, nurture, even love. Their brains are complex. Their lives, mysterious. And their songs? They echo the oldest story: change, survival, return. In a world obsessed with power, whales remind us that greatness lies not in domination but in transformation. And all of it began with a single step, away from the trees and toward the tide. From ruin came renewal. From silence came song. And from death came evolution. The fall of the dinosaurs cleared the canvas. Nature painted something new. Fur and flowers. Wings and fins. A world reborn, reshaped by survivors. And we are just the latest chapter in that unstoppable story. Because on this planet, every end is also a beginning.